Did I make me a cup of coffee? Yes. Do I know it's 8 p.m.? Absolutely. Do I care? Not enough. Let's get into day 4 of Bookmas. According to my Goodreads, I read 7 books. I read 7 books in October and November together. This video won't be super long, but as long as I can catch up to my content days, I'll be happy. For the first book that we read in October, it was Just One Bite by S.L. Coakley. I rated that 4.75, and to this day, I still kind of honestly think about it. It was very cheesy and like very enjoyable for me. There were some plot holes, but I had a really good time. And as a mood reader myself, the vibe was good, and that's all that matters. My rating, I literally wrote, wow, 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 wow. I ran through this book. This reminded me so much about how I love myself a werewolf. Parker was everything, and Olivia was so Black Cat. It didn't get the full 5 stars only because I felt there were bits that could have been longer and not rushed. Like, I kind of wanted some bits and pieces to be more elaborated. Like, I think this book could have been way longer than it was. It was back a normal length, like, I would say that about 300, 350 pages long. And I feel like it could have been closer to like 400 or 500. I'll be so for real. Like in that fantasy world, I loved the world building in that. Like I loved the story itself, and I wish we got more of it. I also said basically this book was too short. I wanted more. Um, the school system was intriguing, but I didn't get to learn much about it as it was heavy on the romance, which I knew this would be the case, but still, I loved learning more about the setting. The school itself, it was almost kind of like, you know how in Hogwarts you have your different schools. So you have Hufflepuff, you have Gryffindor, you have Ravenclaw, you have Slytherin. This one, they also had different, like they had like 2 teams almost, or 2 or 3 teams in the school, kind of like that. Basically, it was a way to separate that school, I guess, to better organize it because of how huge it was. But the school was mixed between vampires, werewolves, and sometimes even humans. There was oh gosh, again, this has been so long. They have like this like donor program. You sign yourself up for it to be like a basically a donation to said hybrids and vampires. But the girls that were there, they did not want anything to do with it. So Parker, love at first sight with Olivia, and he basically was like, I have to protect her, fake dating. Ended up being like he had to mark her. I just love a good werewolf. Like there was, I did 18 highlights and 20, no, 18 notes and 24 highlights. Oh my goodness. There was this one quote. The sweet scent of blood gets stronger, fresh. I find her in the clearing, stumbling forward and jet towards her. This is 9% in, by the way. She buries her head into my chest when her legs give out. With one arm, I hold her up. It's okay. I'm here. You're safe. I won't hurt you. And I quoted it and said, "Oh, one arm? Yes, Parker, I am your biggest fan." And I will go to the grave with that. And then 15% of the way through is the fake dating part where he's like, Olivia is mine. I'm taking her as my mate. Parker's eyes flicker to me, then go back to them. Tell your friends she and her sisters are protected by Gavin's pack. Steer clear. The only way which I'm not spoiling anything because it literally says in the synopsis that the only way to protect her is just to like put her, have her in his pack. Oh, I'm just reading some of these again. The 19% of the way through it says, "What happened? He he was going to mark me." The light leaves Parker's eyes, no blue, no yellow, just pupils taking up all that space before pinning Barrett to the tree by the throat. You know what, Parker? I love Parker so much. Hi, Audie. 25% of the way through it, they said, "Maybe this is about the dream. I have one sex dream about Parker. Then he gives me a little attention and I cave." And I said, "Olivia, I caved the first chapter. It's okay." I mean, I love Parker so much. And I think I asked for this for Christmas to get a hard copy because I honestly love this book. I think I would rate it 5 stars again. I know I said I wouldn't, but like I had such a great time and I loved Parker so much. But anyways, that's enough for that book. The next one that I read was Soul Searching by Lila Sage. And this one, I love Lila, but this one was boring. I rated it 3 stars. My rating was girl. This was kind of boring. Don't get me wrong, I love the ghost storylines and seeing Colin's ability to speak and see ghosts. I'll still be giving this series a try because I love Lila Sage and her stories, but Colin's and Brady's chemistry just wasn't it for me, sadly. They had no chemistry. Like I will say Brady, I was not feeling him. I really cared more about the fact that she could see and talk to ghosts. That was the coolest part. They didn't really have any chemistry for me. And I was so sad about that. Like it was a bummer. It truthfully was. And I want to see, like, I didn't even have any highlights, nothing. It was just eh. But I will say I did. I ended October with the Housemaid series by Frida McFadden. With the new movie coming out, I didn't realize it came out so soon, but the Housemaid comes out I think late December, the movie, and it actually looks really good. But the first book, I literally started that on October 11th. I think I laid down in bed around like 7 or 8. Yeah, about closer to 7. And I finished that book at midnight in one sitting. I read that all the way through. I could not put it down. Yeah, one night, one whole night. I rated that 4 stars only because Frida. I mean, yeah, Frida's a really quick read and a really quick, enjoyable, fast paced read. But personally, like I don't know, it would my body, my heart doesn't feel it as a 5 star. There was a few highlights I can bring up. There was the very first one of 5%. It said, "I'd say there's at least a 25% chance she's going to murder me in my sleep if I get this job, but I still want it." 6%. "I wonder if she would feel the same way about me if she knew I spent the last 10 years of my life in prison." Juicy. And the rest is just going to be spoilers, and I can't share that with you guys. I can't share that with you guys. So, as you know, Frida has two more books in that series. The second one is The Housemaid's Secret, and I rated that 3.5. This one to me was a little bit different than the first one, but it was like the first one, as everybody says, and they are correct, the first one's the best one, and it just kind of like dies down. Like the second one was just kind of mid. It was just eh. It was a good read, but whatever. And then I ended up reading the third one, and I rated that 3 stars. I didn't really like this book at all. I probably could have rated it lower, but my rating said rating it 3 stars only because you don't get any answers or suspicions until 70 or 80% into the book. The whole book was just a bunch of questions, and it personally made me feel, or wait, made me mad about how many secrets were being kept. Eventually, you find out, and by the very, very last chapter, you hear what really happens. Obviously, I love Frida though, which is very true. Towards the end, like I didn't have like as most of her books in Frida when I read her, most of the guesses or theories or whatever I have, like by the half of the book. And this one, I didn't have anything until 70 to 80% of the way through. And then when they finally tell you, obviously you're like, whoa, I didn't know that. Where that come from? But it was just, I was not a huge fan of that. I'll be so for real with you guys. So I ended that book on November 2nd. And then I finished two more books in November, which was Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. I read this for my book club pick for November, and I'll be so for real. I read this in like maybe 2 days, and this was unlike any book, like mystery horror book that I've ever read. I rated it 4.5, and I said, this is unlike any dark thriller mystery book that I've ever read. Honestly, don't know what I would have done in the sister's shoes, but the situations felt so sad and also so for like so real, which it really did. The author did such a great job with bringing you through the storyline, which obviously I can't tell you too much about because then I may spoil it and I don't want to risk it. But the author does a really good job about putting you in those scenarios and like being very descriptive. And there was a lot of dark, heavy stuff. So please read the trigger warnings. Oh my gosh. Um, but it was really crazy, and you kind of go through the like two of the sisters' point of views, and then you kind of like put two and two together, and you kind of learn more about it. And it's honestly it's a wild ride, to say the least. It's a wild ride. And to end off the wrap was If It Makes You Happy by Julie Olivia. And I rated that 4.75. As most said, it was kind of giving you Gilmore Girls kind of esque because of the small town. They even had the gazebo, all that stuff. And I had said 4.75. This book was perfect, the perfect fall read. It has October, Halloween, and it ends with Christmas, so it was perfect. However, it wasn't a solid 5 stars yet, but still, I will always recommend it during the fall. And I also got a little watery eyed a bit during the last half because what do you mean their dog Rocket had a chapter? Their dog had a chapter in his point of view. I loved it. That was probably the best way to end a book. Um, but yes, the characters itself were so memorable. The story was beautiful, the setting and the time of place because it was in the 90s, like late 90s, and it was just so nostalgic, comforting, and again, I think anybody should read this during that like November time because it's just a good in between to like Halloween to Christmas, and it's just fall, and this is a fall book. So that is it for the wrapped for October and November. Obviously, all my stuff in like highlights and notes and thoughts and all that stuff is on my Goodreads and Fable. I use both. As I've said before, if y'all want to see what I think about the books that I read in December, just go follow along on there. You'll see everything. Sometimes I put a couple memes on Fable because I love putting the pictures as my little posts. And yeah, so that's really it for this video. Again, I'm expecting this video to be really short just because I didn't have a whole lot to read over these 2 months. I wasn't really in a reading mood, I suppose. But